about those 2 bombs still.
Are they still? I
Oh,
see.
yeah.
See the propaganda about that. The propaganda about that
No.
is that Japanese people are grateful that we dropped the bombs. I've
Well,
literally seen that documentary.
no, that's not true. You have to understand that the Japanese government and a lot of the media is under the thumb of the U.S. We have 56 military bases still here. So
Yep.
what you get this filtered thing, but I'm talking about real people. Well, the Japanese have actually taken away the lesson they took from Hiroshima and Nagasaki are very, very well expressed in their museums in those 2 cities, and I've been to both. And their basic take is nuclear war is horrible, and we should abolish nuclear weapons. That's so they don't appreciate having like 100,000 people incinerated, but they take from that. Obviously we made some serious mistakes back then, and we paid a penalty, and now let's learn from that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Is it also propaganda that they always said that if the Marines, say, would have invaded Japan, that even the women and children would have tried to kill the Marines in the airborne and the army? Is that true? I think what was the term? I think the term was that there'd be a sword behind every blade of grass if we invaded Japan. That's why we dropped the 2 bombs, because it would have been too costly.
No. Most people were victims of the war. They were not participants in the war. It's that way in every war. 90% of the people are going, how am I going to eat? Where can I get some fresh water? And you might have had some fanatics that behave like that, but it's certainly not representative. No. Anyway, are we live now? Or
I did hit record just before I started talking about but I mean, we can edit anything we want out. I haven't formally introduced you, but I do like that you talked about that a little bit. I mean, because we just had the anniversary of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I think it's important for people to know that was a travesty, and like, of course, we shouldn't have dropped those bombs, and it was so unnecessary because the war was already lost, and Japan was already trying to surrender. And they surrendered under the same terms that they had offered before the bomb dropped. They wanted to keep, I think, the emperor in place, right? And so,
and actually, I saw a headline just 2 days ago that said that U.S. officials were finally admitting that the dropping of the bombs were unnecessary. But if you go to the Hiroshima or the Nagasaki museums, you will see documents where they basically said, we're dropping these bombs to see how well they work. And they had chosen 9 cities, and fortunately they spared Kyoto because there's a treasure trove of history and temples and everything there. But they chose those, and they dropped them directly over a civilian site. They didn't drop them over military. In fact, the one in Hiroshima was dropped right over a school. And that was the episode. So
wasn't there quite a few Christians in Hiroshima and Nagasaki too? Like, their Christian populations were there.
Nagasaki especially, because that still is very, very colored by the trade and so forth that they were having with the Netherlands and so forth. So it's a lot of Christians. Christian was not exactly a welcome religion here, but it was tolerated. So
it's just a glaring reminder, like even in Palestine, how they're targeting Christian sites. Like, it's so weird. It's so odd. I don't know what to make of it.
And I don't know what to make of the support among some Christian. I know this is a very small minority in the U.S. can't make any sense out of why they would support Israel's attempt to create a
It's not a small minority. It's a lot of, if you are a evangelical Christian, or if you're just like a plain Jane like Protestant, you were born and raised, even in Sunday school, like Ted Cruz said when he was talking to Tucker, to support Israel. It's not a small majority. It's not a small group. It's almost all of them.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, That's why I do these podcasts, so that I can learn and become even more frightened.
Yeah. So the Bible Belt, pretty much every Christian in the Bible Belt, every Christian that is like in the rural areas of the country, believe that like in order for the rapture to happen, for Jesus to come back, Israel has to build the third temple, and yada yada yada. So they all support Israel no matter what they do, because they have to. They feel like.
Doesn't our ambassador to Israel also embrace that particular view? Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's part of the reason we do this podcast. I mean,
hey, I did too. I believe that too.
I mean, to be honest with you, so I've been coming and going from Japan for 18 years. I've been married to a beautiful Japanese lady for 13 years. So I am really, I don't want to say divorced, but I'm at least a spectator on American media. I don't actively participate in it. Every day, I believe it or not, I check Huffington Post, which is a real education. That used to be one of my favorite news sites because it was so open-minded and I thought fair-handed and report. Now it's just a bunch of gossip and stuff, but I like to see what it is. So for the last 2 days, I look at Huffington Post. I don't even see a mention on the front page of the Putin Trump meeting. It's not even mentioned. For God's sakes, this could be at least the beginning of a world changing event,
I hope so.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't have any hopes for it, but I think it's good.
Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if we just broke off our alliance with Europe and just said, let's do trade with Russia and China? Wouldn't that be the craziest thing?
Wow, you are radical. I hope you have your doors locked.
Well, here's the thing. Europe right now is a dumpster fire. They've completely lost their way. They no longer believe in free speech. They no longer believe in like Western values, and they're just like laying down and allowing immigrants to destroy probably the most important culture in the world that we ever had. America isn't America if the Europe, wasn't Europe first, and they're just throwing their history aside and they're just being apologetic to everything, and they're letting their citizens just suffer. It's just I'm
aware, very aware of all that, but I want to make one slight correction to you. You said the most important culture in the world. No, it definitely is the most important culture in the West. But I just came back from China. I spent a week in Chengdu, China. It was kind of a very special birthday gift to my wife because she absolutely loves and is obsessed with pandas, and Chengdu, China is like the panda capital of the world. So we spent a whole week, and so I was in Chengdu 16 years ago. 16 years ago. And I'm telling you, the changes in 16 years are breathtaking. And you have to look at China. The civilization is 5,000 years old. That is one of the most important cultures. And I think the West could learn a lot from their kind of their worldview and their and so forth. But anyway,
does China have a worldview since they're communists though? Well, I agree. I agree. Okay. Pre the revolution, pre Mao, I agree with you. It was a fascinating and amazing and even seafaring culture, even more advanced than what Europe was at the same time. But since Mao, I mean, I would say they stand for nothing and they have no culture because they have no religion.
Okay.
We're talking about the government.
Number one, we spent half of our time in Buddhist temples. I suggest, Josh, on your way to Japan, you stop in China, and you could spend a month there and you would not know it was a communist country. There is nothing about China, the way that the people act, the way they do business, nothing that is, I didn't see any symbols of communism anywhere. And Chengdu is like the second largest city in China. It's like behind Beijing, 21.8 million people or something. It's like right behind Beijing. It is a huge city. It is bustling. It is vibrant with a lot of capitalism. I mean, we saw all of the luxury brands, Chanel and everything. We saw there. I don't remember seeing anything. So now Vietnam is different. I lived in Vietnam for 6 months, and you see a lot of posters, and there's posters of Ho Chi Minh and so forth, and there's a lot of communist, I don't want to say propaganda, but it's just a celebration of that particular form of government there, but not in China. You would think you were in San Francisco, except there's just a few more Chinese people in China than San Francisco. It is nothing like what it's portrayed in the West. I guarantee you.
Okay. So is China, if China really is going to like take over America, are you saying that that's a good thing, that they'll police the world?
China does not want to take over anybody, and this is the thing that the West could learn. China has not been a conquering country. It has not been one that has colonized. It sets up economic agreements. It sets up a lot of what they call win-win arrangements with other countries. We'll build this, and in exchange, you do trade with us, et cetera, et cetera. But if you look at the history of China, they only had one war in the last 700 years. That was with Vietnam in 1979.
Well, it was Russia too. Didn't Russia and China fight briefly before World War I?
It depends on what you call fighting. There was no war declared. There were border skirmishes. I mean, some of those things are temper tantrums by a guard that's just, had too much coffee, and so you have to put it in perspective. I mean, America killed 3 million Vietnamese. The Chinese haven't gone out. And this is one thing that really upsets me about Japanese people is they're so afraid of China because of US propaganda, and they're so hostile toward China. China has never invaded Japan, not once. And Japan has definitely invaded and slaughtered hundreds of thousands of Chinese.
They massacred the Chinese, yeah.
Yes. So I can't, the logic that some people follow is completely incomprehensible to me, because China, it's the whole Confucianism, it's the Buddhism, it's all that thing. It's basically live and let live, but we're going to do our best to enjoy the fruits of planet Earth. And this will include economic development and trade and all those things, but they're not interested in territory.
Well, I think you're right that they're not interested in conquering territory, but they are interested in conquering mineral rights in Africa. And the way that they bait, dictators in Africa for their minerals is, I think, somewhat questionable and wrong.
So you're talking about the West that has openly.
No. I'm not comparing them. I'm against imperialism in America. I'm also against what China's doing to the Philippines right now, what China is doing to make their sea rights larger by making fake islands. And I also would say what they're doing in Africa is particularly egregious, because they are basically using slave labor in the Congo to get cobalt, copper, lithium, so that we have cheap smartphones in America.
Well, so, I'm very open-minded, and if you'd like to send me some documentation on that, I would love to see it. A lot of this sounds like American propaganda, which is saying this is the way we do things, therefore it must be the way that China does things.
We don't build first world infrastructure in poor African countries to bait them in, so that when they can't pay their loan off, we just take their mineral rights, which is exactly what China has been doing. And when they do when they take the mineral rights because they can't pay for the first world infrastructure that they build with Chinese labor, by the way, like the Chinese come and build it for them, they take their mineral rights, and then that's why we have cheap lithium batteries. That's why we have cheap products from China. It's because, they get it cheap because they use artisanal mining, which is outlawed by first world countries. But because we're not doing it, we don't know that. artisanal mining.
I'd like to see some serious documentation on this from credible people, because
I've seen videos of it. A man went to Africa, went to the Congo, and came on the Joe Rogan podcast and showed video evidence of artisanal mining, and it was all controlled by Chinese people in the Congo. So, like, I agree with you. They're not imperial, but they do kind of bait third world countries into basically doing cheap labor, slave labor, so that Americans have cheap iPhones and smartphones, generally anything with a battery.
So how much lithium do they get from Africa?
So I'm aware that of the practices, I don't have statistics, because I'm a broad spectrum person. So like, I listen to a lot of things and I read a lot of things. So I'm knowledgeable, and I'm not knowledgeable in statistics as much as I am in broad on a lot of different topics. Does that make sense? I don't know. Like, I don't know the tonnage of lithium. I don't know the tonnage of copper or cobalt, but I have seen, video evidence that's even been in the news of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Africans with pickaxes and shovels in the hot African sun digging up cobalt and copper for first world pleasures.
Like I said, I'd like to see some credible, well-researched documentation on that, because I know that, what was the name of that book? Confessions of a
Economic Hitman.
Yeah, I mean, so
we do it too.
That's the model.
We do it too, and again, I'm against that too. I'm 100% against what we did to Panama.
If China is doing that, I fully oppose it. I agree with you 100% on that.
Well, I think Danny and I have looked it up. I think Danny and I have looked it up and even watched the video together.
I don't recall that specific video, but I wanted to ask you, Josh, I mean, is that why, part of why, like, all the products in America, I mean, not all of them, but everything that's made in China is so much cheaper? You know, there's exploitative you know what I'm saying? There's labor that's exploited in definitely.
If you guys remember COVID and the lockdowns that they had in China, which my guess is you may say is propaganda, but I mean, I've seen videos on Rumble, I've seen videos on actual YouTube before they deleted them, of these massive factories in China, and they had netting around the top of the roof.
Netting around.
So they wouldn't kill them. So their laborers, who are barely getting paid anything, could make us cheap goods for us to buy. And another good proof of this is that when Trump was saying he was going to tariff China, like whatever percentage it was, Xi Jinping actually, like his administration actually made meme videos of fat white men and women in America making their own iPhones. So he was basically admitting that they use slave labor. And when I say slave labor, they're not craft of the whip. You know, they're just paid very poorly, and they're the peasants of China, and they work in the factories for Americans to buy cheap goods.
So the other side of that is that in 25 years, China has completely eliminated extreme poverty, which America has not been able to accomplish in 247 years. So, you know, there's always two sides to the story. Maybe. Have you ever worked in a factory?
I have never worked in a factory, but I was born. I was born into poverty, if that matters.
So it matters. I mean, I'll send you some money right after this video here. No. I worked in a factory when I was 14. I had to work in a factory because both my parents died, and I worked in factories subsequent to that. And factory work, I don't care what the wage is a horrifying, degrading, monotonous, dehumanizing experience. And so you can always portray it that way, or you can say, well, these peasants, for whatever reason, because their lives were so impoverished in the countryside, moved to the cities.
They were put to work in factories. They couldn't psychologically handle it, so they had to put nets around. I know that whole story. You know, it's a matter of putting it in perspective. And I'm gonna raise a very general challenge here. What right do you or I or our dear friend Daniel here have to question what goes on in China? If this is what's going on, that's China's business, and it's up to the Chinese people to say, we don't like this. We're going to organize a labor union or whatever. We are as Americans guilty of exactly the same kind of exploitation. So why don't we just take care of our own business and stop judging everybody else? I've been in 35 countries since I left America in 2006. Some of them were very, very rich and first world countries. And when I was in Africa, I lived in a village that had no electricity and no running water. I used to have to bathe in Lake Victoria. I was this white guy with blonde hair, and everybody else was jet black. And they used to laugh at me because I looked like a ghost to them. I mean, I have seen all extremes. And all I'm saying is, if you go around the world, you will see all extremes. And it's not America's place to dictate. You can't bathe in Lake Victoria, folks. You've got to get a shower and hot, and water. It's not our business. And
I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. You were just kind of praising China and saying that they were a great country. And I basically was rebutting that by saying, well, they have a lot of moral issues, just like any country does. That's all.
Well,
I'm not saying we should.
No, I didn't say they were a great country.
China. I'm not saying we should invade China and tell them what to do. I'm just saying you were propping up a country that I think exploits humans for big business gain for us. And I was just
there are different aspects of being great. It can be a great country culturally. It can be great, like the people are really nice. I mean, every Chinese person I met in this country.
I think that was the word I used, that they were a great culture and an example. So if you're an example to the world, the United States, despite its warmongering and its exploitation and its bullying, is a great country in some respects. If you look at what it stands for and so forth. This is all, I wasn't propping anybody up. I try to look at all these countries, good and bad. I love Japan, but there are things that I find about Japan, and especially the politics, which I find appalling. That doesn't mean that Japan does not have phenomenal things to offer as an example of how to live, like the respect among people. The honesty here is astonishing. You could leave your computer on a park bench and come back 4 hours later, and it'll still be sitting there. I mean, how do I know that? It happened. It happens to people. You can leave your wallet, and then you call the local Koban, which is the little community police centers, and you say, I left my wallet down near the supermarket. Oh, yes, somebody just turned it in. And you open the wallet, and all the money's there, and the credit cards are there. And so all I can say is that's an example of people respecting other people that other countries, the United States, I've been ripped off so many times there, robbed, burglarized. It's an example of, and China has many things about them. As a culture, I said, they are one of the finest in the world. You said Europe was like, the greatest.
I am still a Christian, so I am still partial to, I'm still partial to Western society as a whole. I mean, I am more preferable to Western society than Eastern society, but that's because I'm a product of the West, and I've never been to the East.
And I don't mean to in any way denigrate you, but I think it's because you're not very familiar with. I've been in Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Malaysia, Indonesia, China, India, Nepal. Japan, obviously, Philippines. I know what these countries, what they're like. And before Americans and people, I was raised Catholic. I was raised in a trailer park. I know poverty. I know the West. I know that whole thing. But I'm also familiar, at least superficially, with these other cultures. And I know that when I walked down the street in China all last week, any time of night, I never had to worry about being attacked or robbed or pickpocketed or anything. It's like completely, so's Japan, completely safe countries, and people are very respectful and they keep their distance. What are the downsides? Chinese people are loud. Oh my God, they are so freaking loud. I mean, they literally, I'm losing my hearing and they still hurt my ears. So, I mean, every culture has these pluses and minuses, you know? And that's all I try to look for, is what are the good things that each culture and each country has to offer. And let's try to emulate those things and get rid of all of the things that are horrible. And like I say, from the outside here, I would like to see America mind its own business and stop judging other countries and saying, well, we can't do business with them because they're loud or their food's too spicy in Chengdu. What? It's not our place to judge those things, you know?
That sounds like an America First message. That's what we do on this show.
Well,
I mean,
I like the core message of America First. I certainly don't like the way it's being implemented, but I think it's a good concept.
Trump's not America First. He's MAGA. There's a difference.
Yeah, we talk about that in this show.
We talk about
there's a rift
right now.
You'll have to fine tune my sensibilities on that one. So.
Well, MAGA is behind a man. Okay, MAGA is behind one man, and then America First is a movement. That's the difference.
I think every country should be Hungary first. It should be France first. It should be Germany first.
Right.
But respecting the fact that other countries want to promote and protect their own cultural and economic identity and national identity. So there was a time, certainly many years ago, when I was very naively utopian and thought, oh, let's just dissolve all the borders and let's all speak Esperanto. Do you know Esperanto? Do you guys know that?
No.
Esperanto was a language created about 50 years ago, and it combined all of the elements of every other language so that everybody could understand everybody.
Wow.
But the truth was, nobody could understand anybody.
Sounds like a horrible idea.
I agree, but just maturing a little bit and traveling and experiencing other cultures has made me really appreciate it's the differences that are interesting and that are entertaining and informative, very instructive. What you can learn by just going around and looking other, and not to denigrate my two wonderful hosts here, but Americans don't travel. In all my travels, all that travel, I rarely ran into an American. I run into Swedes and Italians and Germans and British but no Americans. Very, very, very rare did I run into any Americans. And that's really a tragedy. If you're going to judge these other countries, at least go there and see what they're doing,
Do you want to know why we don't travel? Oh, so go ahead, Danny.
No. I mean, I can just relate. Like the first time I went abroad, besides when I was an infant, I went to Korea with my parents. But I went to Spain my last year of college, and it was somewhat of a religious experience because as a Catholic, seeing these like 500-year-old cathedrals in Spain just like blew my mind. There was something about, wow, this is a part of the earth that's so much older than America. Like, wow, I can't believe I've been missing out. But anyway, go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna, I'll go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that the reason why Americans don't travel is because we chase the almighty dollar more than anything else in the world. Like families will, at the sacrifice of their children, have two incomes so that they can be upper middle class, so that their kids can go to college, and like they'll work themselves to the bone and not go on vacations it's just I'm married to a middle class woman, and I was raised in poverty. Money isn't as important to me as it is to her.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, that is really interesting, because when I was in Africa, you had people that were barely, I mean, I can send you pictures of me standing with families in front of huts, and the material things were not important to them.
Right.
You know what
exactly.
they were? How many babies you have? How many babies? I don't know. I don't think I have. I think I only have one, but maybe there's more. But it's family and children, and it's just a whole different mentality. I understand that.
Yeah. We are so busy trying to create money and wealth for ourselves that we forget that there's a whole other world to look at and enjoy. We are such a busy society, and like we feel like we have to keep busy. We have to keep busy. We never like stop and smell the roses till we're retired. And when we're retired, we're too old to do anything.
So when I left America August 3rd, 2006, and I came back August 3rd, 2007 on a around the world trip. It was a poorly conceived thing, because as an American, I really didn't know how to travel. I would do it completely differently, but I did go to, like, I don't know, 9 countries or something. And when I came back, I was all excited because I had seen so much. I mean, if you want a list, I went to Spain, Italy, Switzerland, Uganda, Kenya, South Africa, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, China, and Japan was my last stop. And I came back and my eyes were like, like a kid seeing an ice cream cone. And you know what the most common thing that people said to me was? The remark was shocking to me. I said, yeah, I was in Spain. Why would you want to go there? We have everything here in America. This is what people, so it's you're right. It's the pursuit of the dollar and that illusion of security. But it's also a kind of a cultural, I don't want to say it's a xenophobia, but it's kind of a snobbery. You do have everything there. I've taken my wife to America, and it's a beautiful country. The West, the East, it's just phenomenal. But that is not necessarily a cultural diversity. You have a range of cultural diversity, as you know. Where did you grow up, by the way? What part?
So I grew up in the Midwest in a town of 1,800 people.
And what state?
Missouri.
Oh my God. My first novel was set in Missouri in a town I made up called Polnick. Anyway, and it was Bible Belt, and it was right down the street from Hannibal, and right down the street.
Oh yeah, I've been to Hannibal. So Hannibal is an hour and a half from my hometown. Maybe less than an hour and a half away.
Amazing. Well, you lived in Polnick then, even though it doesn't exist. So Missouri.
Okay.
So, but the difference between Missouri and Boston and Missouri and San Francisco is a huge range. It's a cultural range.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt about that.
Oh yeah, I can tell you all about it. I can tell you all about it.
It's nothing. That range, that entire range, is nothing compared to the difference between Missouri and Beijing, or Missouri and Madrid, and that's all I'm saying.
Would me, because I'm from a rural area, would I connect well with rural China though?
I don't know. I've never been in rural China, and that's unfortunate. I've only been in Beijing and Chengdu, the 2 biggest cities, so I have no idea. But I think you'd be very comfortable where I live, except you don't speak Japanese. But I mean, the people here I ride my bike around town. I don't own a car anymore. I ride my bike, and it's, hey, there's the American, and hey, it's just very, very friendly, and they're farmers. They're out, they're working 12 hours a day. I don't know how these people do it. Some of them are like 80, 85 years old, and they're still out there hoeing the potatoes, And so, yeah, you'd feel very comfortable where I live. Definitely.
Yeah.
Wow. This is cool. I love this topic. I mean,
it's fun. Yeah. It's much better than talking politics.
Well, it's like, when my friend, so I met somebody when I was in Spain in 96. And then she came to visit us when I was living in New York City in 2001, I think. and it's unfortunate she only visited New York City and DC. And I told her, well, this isn't really that different from some of the European cities, I guess. I told her, like, you're missing out. And next time you got to visit like the American South, because to me that feels more uniquely American. I'm not saying it's more American than New York City or Boston, but it's like, you know, country music and Southern culture. That's uniquely a Southern United States, unique to our country. It
There's
feels
no
like
question.
somebody has to visit to experience the authentic, or at least part of the authentic experience.
So my first trip with my wife to America, we started in Pennsylvania, because that's where my ex-mother-in-law lived. State College, which is Penn State University. We went from New York, and we drove all the way down to Atlanta. Ooh. We went through we stayed in Asheville. We stayed in a little town called Waynesville, North Carolina. Asheville, which is destroyed by the floods. Yeah. We went to Nashville. We went down on the honky tonk row, hung out in the nightclubs. So she saw that whole. I wish we'd had time to take her to Boston. So I know, I understand. In fact, when I was living in Michigan and I would go down to this deep South, I felt like I was in another country.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You know, I mean, within the American framework, within that big frame, there is an amazing diversity. And I've also driven across America 6 times on back roads, not taking the only one time I took a super highway, back roads. And, you know, I attended a rodeo in Casper, Wyoming. And I remember, this going into this restaurant in the middle of nowhere, and we sat down, and the lady, she had a restaurant and a tow truck service, and we had to watch her kid. We had to watch her kid while she cooked the dinner, because she was the cook and the waitress and the cashier. So I mean, I love that side of America, but that's not the side of America those are not the people that are running things anymore.
Right.
Oh, no, they've never ran it though. That's the crazy thing. I feel like never once has America been ruled by the rural dirt people. You know what I'm saying? No. Like even the founding fathers, they were all upper class landowners, plantation owners, men of business in New York and Massachusetts. Like America's never been ran by the dirt people of America. Yeah.
Also, the dirt people, as you call them, are a huge minority now. I mean, most people in America live in big cities. So, but at least there was a time, and I'm a lot older than both of you, so I grew up in Detroit area, and I never even met a Republican until I was 18 and went to university. I mean, literally everybody was Democrat. It was all union. It was all the Democrats were supportive of unions and supportive of working people and supporting of labor and the lower middle class. But that doesn't even exist anymore. It's not only the dirt people. Nobody has a voice in America. I
agree.
People I identify with, you know.
Yeah, well, we were talking about culture a second ago. Where I'm from, there are no traffic lights. There isn't a traffic light within an hour drive of any direction of my hometown.
That's amazing. 1,800 people.
So when I moved to Lancaster, like the first week, my now wife, I was driving because, you know, I'm the man drives, and from where I'm from, right? Like if you're in a car with a woman, you drive. And she like yelled at me because I messed up at a traffic light, right? And I was just so frustrated. I got out of the car. I just parked the car and I was like, I'm walking, you drive. So like the culture shock for me from the Midwest to Lancaster County was absolutely immense. And I went from a group of like 20 close friends and family, like probably up in the 50s, of people who actually would like go to war with you. You know, and when I say war, I don't mean guns. I mean like something happened in your home.
Yeah.
You were there to you. I went from
They're
that
there for you. Yeah.
to zero.
Yeah.
And I have been living here for 10 years, and I would say I can count on one hand how many people, if something bad happened to me or my family, I could count on. Like the East Coast, the people are so busy that they can't take the time to build any kind of meaningful relationship that messes up their own life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been really difficult for me, because I would go to bat for anyone that I loved. But even out here, if you love someone, you're like, oh man, I got a meeting at 2. I can't help you with a flat tire right now. Sorry. Like, it's just, the culture is different.
I mean, some of that's modern life, and some of it is the economic model that America has embraced, which you know, it's just a mechanism for shoveling more money into the 0.1%. You know, so that's the way it's going to be. I mean, so when I was these factories so I was in Detroit when there were 2 million people living there. Now there's less than 750,000. But the factories were thriving, and there were tens of thousands of little businesses that made parts and performed all sorts of services for the automobile industry. And so, you know, my father, who was a hardware clerk, we had a new car, we had a house, we had my mother never worked a day in her life. Well, she did when she was younger, but from the time they got married, it was a whole, and actually RFK talks about this. This was one of the things that really attracted me to him. He says, there was a time when, and he would describe this. And so what's the difference? The difference is the economic model that has this neoliberal capitalism, which has just become like a cancer. And it makes now both the mother and father have to work. I don't know how they have time. They don't have time to raise their kids. And that, by the way, is one of the things about Japan that I don't like, is they're embracing more of that. More and more, both people work and they're getting too busy, but they still have a very, very strong sense of family and a lot of respect for older people. And that's still there, but I hope it doesn't get destroyed by just what you're describing. People just get too busy. And they get too tired. I mean, if you work 12 hours a day, how much energy do you have to sit down with your kids and enjoy them, you know? So
not a whole lot.
Right.
Not a whole lot. I mean, I would go ahead, Danny.
Well, I was going to segue into some of John's books, and we could get a little more political. But finish your thought, Josh.
Oh, I was just going to say that like my wife could be a vet tech at any vet hospital she wanted to work at, probably, and get paid well. And, you know, our kids could be in daycare. They could be in public school. We'd probably make double what we make right now, but we choose to where she doesn't work more than 1 day a week. And I work 12 hours a day just because I feel like that's what's important. I feel like I don't see my kids as much as I want to, but also I think it's such an advantage to have my wife at home with the kids while they're growing up. I think it's just you can't put money on it.
So getting into politics, I mean, it has to do with the laws of America. You know that in Japan, you can take the mother, after she gives birth to a child, she has the option of taking a year off of work. And she has guaranteed that when she comes back to her job, the father can also take off months when a child is born. So that's an example of a legal arrangement. It's protected by law here that America could. All this stuff could be changed, but not with the people that are in power now. That has been my whole, in the Peace Dividend, the candidate contract. I don't know whether Danny familiarized this, but I have something called a contract for American renewal. And the point of that is not the contract. The point of that is to replace the people now in power, to get people to wake up and say, you know what? If you look around the world, I mean, for example, in Europe, you are guaranteed 5 weeks of vacation. It's literally written into the laws. 5 weeks of vacation from the time you start a job. America could do that, especially with AI and robotics and everything. Everybody could be working less, could have more time off, but you have to have the laws in place to make sure that whatever money is saved, that wealth is shared more equitably among the people. Because the way it is now, if you take a time off work in America, you don't get any money, your job is gone, and it's replaced. You're replaced by somebody else. So those are the things that need to be done. Those are the discussions that we never have, and those are the things that the politicians never talk about. They allude very broadly to, we need to improve the quality of life in America for all Americans, blah, 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 blah. But it comes down to very specific things. So that has been the thrust of both my campaigns. Yes, the Peace Dividend project is about peace, but what it is it's actually about regime change. And peace and embracing peace and stopping all the military waste is the vehicle for doing that. The Contract for American Renewal is just saying within every district, what is it you folks really, what's important to you? And, it's this last year has actually been interesting because finally, what I would consider a moral cause, the whole Gaza genocide, has become important to people in America. That's kind of a surprise to me because for the last 8 years, I've been following the polls, and war and military and genocide and colonial, none of that stuff ever comes up. What comes up is childcare, good wages, secure job security. Those are the things that are important to people. And those are the things that the politicians that are now in power, because they're completely compromised, never, ever address. Not seriously. They give lip service, but they don't seriously push the laws through Congress. Same thing with corporations. Corporations could be reined in, but it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. People have to realize they can write their congressman 1 million times. They can march in the street. It's not going to happen because the pressures that are put on the people that are in positions of making the laws, the pressures are just too great. They're financial. There are all sorts of incentives for keeping the wars going, blowing the military budget to $1 trillion a year. I mean, this is insanity. China doesn't want to go to. China doesn't want war with the U.S. Russia doesn't want war with the. Who want? North Korea doesn't want war with the U.S. None of these countries do. What are we spending $1 trillion a year on? For what? Well, we know what. It's to fatten the pocketbooks of the investors in war industries. It's all about, but that could be changed. I mean, when corporate law was originally conceived of, I think back in the 19th century, when corporate law was in its formative stages, to get a corporate charter, it always had to be included in there that the needs of the community in which the corporation was located was given equal priority with profit. Those clauses don't exist anymore. So what do you hear? You hear from these CEOs, well, I have to serve my stockholders. Profit is everything. If we poison the stream, well, that's just too bad. I mean, maybe government can clean it up. All that stuff could be changed, but none of these discussions ever take place. And I don't know how to get people. I don't know anymore. I thought 8 years ago I had a good idea, but people don't seem to be capable of understanding that if you want a minimum wage of $20 an hour, you need to vote somebody into office that will introduce that legislation, and everybody, all the districts, all 435, they need to put people in place that will vote that in. And at that point, it doesn't matter who is president. If you have a veto-proof Congress, you can pass anything. Anyway, I'm kind of wandering.
So yeah, I have a lot of thoughts. I don't know which.
I wrote things down. I have a lot.
Okay, good. So I want to start with, I never gave John a proper introduction. I met John online through the book he was just talking about, the Peace Dividend, and I liked the idea so much. I liked the way he articulated it John's a renowned author, and I'm going to share my screen and show you some of the books he's it's
all right.
Yeah, and you've written hundreds of articles, right? Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see this.
I've written actually more fiction books. I'm working on my 19th book now, and it's called America's Hijacked Peace Dividend. It is an update of that book that you bought. And because everything has changed in the last 9 years, so I'm updating the book and I'm adding a lot of material to it. But it's the same argument, and that is we are wasting our national wealth. We're wasting our energy. We're wasting the vast intellectual capacity of Americans on something which ultimately will destroy us. And, and I add it up and I say, look, we were promised a peace dividend in 1992 when the Soviet Union dissolved. We were promised a peace dividend. And actually, for the first 8 or 9 years, the defense budget came down a little bit. Then the neocons and the, Paul Wolfowitz and the Kagans and all those people they revved up the think tanks and they revved up the fear and they revved up all sorts of situations. No, we got to spend more and more. And now we're up to so it was $362 billion in 1992. And there was no reason, not even to this day, to raise it above that. So the peace dividend is the amount of money that we have spent on the military above that amount ever since. And it comes to $8.54 trillion. That's a lot of money that could have gone into schools and community centers and nurse daycare and actually having roads and subways that work, public transportation. I mean, this is the thing that you learn by traveling to other countries, is that America doesn't have to function the way it functions. There are a lot better ways. There are ways that are more accommodating to people, saves them time and money. I mean, I lived in LA. I used to sit in traffic for hours and hours every day. In China, you drop into a subway. Do you know how much it costs to go across town in a subway? $2. $2. I could get anywhere in the city of Chengdu, a city as bigger than Los Angeles, for $2.
So I want to talk. I'm going to let Josh talk in a second, but I want to tell you what I think the pros and cons are of the peace dividend idea.
Okay.
To kind of and help explain to the viewers what exactly it is. So it's basically a refund of tax money. I don't know what the figure he came up with. It's like give like $20,000 to each household, or
comes out to $25,029 now. Because of the money we've spent.
So my point is, yes, this is something that will get people's attention because, like you articulated in that article, I'll probably find it after this broadcast, but it's not that people don't care about war, it's that they care about their own interests and like what's happening down the street and to their family first. And most people in the US think that war is not affecting them. Well, this is actually a way for them to realize war is actually making us poor, like you said, which is basically what the peace dividend idea is. It's to make you realize that war has been robbing you. Now, the problem I have that maybe my journey in the Libertarian Party and then becoming a Republican from there, or a Libertarian Republican, I've learned a lot about fiscal policy in some of the books I've read. So at the end of the day, you're giving out this money. It's still unsound money. It's fiat money
that's been printed by the Fed out of thin air. You know what I'm saying? So it's not, you're not really solving the problem of the deficit and inflation and all that. I don't know. Maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but
let me ask you a simple question. America since 1992 has spent over $19 trillion on defense. I'm saying only 8.5. It's actually much more because we fought wars we didn't have to fight. That's not included in the official budgets, the official defense budgets. All that money is special operations, special allocations, all the black money that goes into the CIA, the enormous amount of money that's wasted on Department of Homeland Security. All of that stuff. I'm not even counting any of that. I'm just talking about the official budget so that I have something I can point to and say, this is pretty indisputable. We don't need to spend this much money, and here's how much we have wasted beyond that.
I think all that should have been doged. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, let me ask you, where do you think that money ended up? All that extra money that we wasted on the military, where did it end up?
It goes to contractors and everyone who has a piece of the pie in the war machine.
And who invests in the contractors? Do you? Do you have any defense stocks? You, Josh? Do you own defense stock?
I might have a few in my American Index fund for my retirement.
Yeah, I have a full market index fund too. Yeah,
I'm not sure. I bet you I have some.
But you don't own 20% of the stocks of Raytheon.
No.
You probably wouldn't be having this conversation.
No.
My point is that most of, if you then look at the migration of wealth between 1992 and 2025, it's all sucked. Even during COVID, the ultra rich were enriched by $1.6 trillion, even in COVID when everybody else.
Yeah.
So all that money has gone into the coffers of the already incomprehensibly wealthy people. Now, this is where you and I have a problem, is because you don't think these people should be taxed, I assume. But I think if America has given them more wealth than they could spend in 50 centuries, that maybe they could give a little bit back to the American people, the country that has made them, the workers that have suffered because of their incredible avarice. Give some of that back and let Americans start to enjoy. I mean, $25,000 is nothing anymore.
Right.
It's a lot of money. I guess to a person who's only making $20,000 a year, it's a lot of money.
Sure.
So the point is, yes, it's wealth distribution. Yes, it's taxing the rich. Yes, it's changing the equations. And that, as a libertarian Republican, and also Trump, by the way, would not go along with. So I don't know. I don't know what to say to that.
Danny, do you have more to say before
Yeah, because it's interesting that
wait.
George Herbert Walker Bush was the first to come up with, I mean, it's different from your Peace Dividend idea, but my point is, it was good that he put that out there as like, hey, we're going into detente supposedly with Russia. The wall just came down and Americans are going to get their Peace Dividend. It sounded like a great idea. And I wish, hopefully, God willing, tomorrow will be a historic day. Maybe we'll see a ceasefire agreement. And I think that'll be a good opportunity for Trump. I don't think it'd be out of the realm of possibility that he could say, hey, here's our next George Bush style Peace Dividend. I mean, I don't know how he's going to deliver it, but he could say that, and I would support him. Anyway, go ahead.
I think he would be supportive of the idea of promising a windfall of money to people, because it would garner him all sorts of adulation and admiration and love.
Yep.
But he would not support the mechanisms that are necessary in order to make that refund of money budget neutral. I mean, this is what I've put forward. I put forward a proposal that is end to end. Here's where the money goes. Here's where it comes from. And this is where apparently you don't see that the welfare of the American people as individuals, as poor as the 170 million people on the bottom half of the economy who own practically like 10% of the wealth or something like that. You don't see any value in giving those people their fair share of America's treasures. And I do. Does that make me a communist or a socialist or a liberal? I don't know. I don't put labels on it. I just try to look at fairness. I try to look at the quality of life that is possible. And if you travel, you realize the quality of life is much better in many, and I'm not even talking about Asian countries, European countries, many countries. The quality of life is so much better. And Americans have been kept in the dark about that intentionally, because why is it that every country that says we're going to nationalize the oil industry, or we're going to nationalize, as in Cuba, we're going to nationalize the fruit companies and all those things. Why? Because we want to help our people. We want to raise the standard of living of our impoverished. We want, as China, we want to eliminate extreme poverty in our country. Why is it every one of those countries ends up being attacked by America? Nicaragua, Cuba, Venezuela, you name it. Every country that wants to help its people gets attacked by the capitalist class in America. Well, it's obvious. Libya. You ever read my article on Libya? I mean, it's breathtaking what Gaddafi was doing for his people.
Yeah.
And so we destroy the country because we don't want any examples of that, glaring examples that people in America might go, why is it that in Libya, a couple got married, they got $5,000. No, it's $5,000 for a baby. Why is it they were guaranteed an apartment? Why could they get interest-free loans? Why is it that gasoline there was only 40 cents a gallon? People might start asking questions. So we have to demonize all these countries. And to your point about my propping up China, I'm just pointing out the positive things. I'm not saying there are no negative things. I'm saying these are things that Americans could have if they would just stand up for themselves.
Yeah. And just to be clear, I'm not against the idea of those checks going out to all those people, especially the people who really need it. I'm just asking objectively, like, would that devalue the dollar? Like, is it sound economics to do that on that scale? Because we saw, like the omnibus bill during, or whatever is called, during COVID, like everyone got checks, but did that really help anything?
It helped no one. It helped no one but the richest people.
So if you look at the way, I also have a section paying for the Peace Dividend refund, $470 billion cut from the DoD budget. This is interesting. And I wrote, this is a long time ago, 43 billion cut from state and U.S. aid budget, U.S. aid, AID, which I give Trump credit. He just said this is just another instrument for conquest. This is not really 40 billion cut from Homeland Security. 32 billion cut from the black budgets of this NSA and CIA. They're running their own drug trade anyway. They don't need any money from Congress. 110 billion from closing tax loopholes, taxing offshored money. $100 billion unnecessary counterproductive corporate welfare. I look at, it was at Amazon didn't pay any taxes last year. I mean, that's ridiculous. We subsidize these industries, which are already awash in profits.
They made out really well during COVID too.
400 billion, making corporations pay their fair share. 140 billion financial transaction tax. We're talking about 0.01 cents percent transaction tax. It's the tiniest bit, 196 billion raised by a carbon tax, which would be good for the environment. Then there's 400 billion peace bonds. That's a bond, and 600 billion from U.S. peace dollars. I think this is. By the way, I will tell you, I have sent my peace dollar idea to a number of very prominent economists, and I either get no reaction or I get head scratching. I don't understand it. So the peace dollars concept is, I think, is one of the most inventive things I've ever done.
Yeah, we might have to have. I want to have you back, John, because I only have about 15 minutes left, but I want to have Josh give a rebuttal. But yeah, I would love you to explain the peace dollars.
Come on again. Absolutely.
Yeah,
so,
we should continue.
So
this.
I think you have great ideas. I think the problem is that you've been in so many countries that you haven't been home in a long time, and I don't think you remember what the founding fathers envisioned of this country. So America was never supposed to be a nanny state. You're talking about all these social programs that you think the government should spend money on.
Wait, what social program? I didn't mention any social programs.
Yes, you had. You talked about paid leave for childcare, daycare,
Wait.
No. You said that stuff. You mentioned
other countries had it.
Transportation.
I said those are things we could talk about. That is not in my peace dividend proposal.
I'm not talking about your peace dividend. You were mentioning things that other countries do with tax money. That tax money that the government spends on social programs isn't their money. It's my money. It's Danny's money. It's anyone who works who gets their money stolen from them for war, for the nanny state. So like when you're mentioning all these programs and how great other countries are and how America could have this, America could have that, I look at it as, okay, so they can tax us more for more programs. Okay. So I don't
slow down. All of these decisions.
To be fair, I was quiet for 15 minutes. To be fair, I was quiet for 15 minutes.
Josh, how about talk for one more minute? Then I want to hear John. I didn't know I was going to moderate a debate.
Okay, all right. So
I don't feel there's a debate here because I'm not debating. I'm saying that if people want this, if 80% of the people
doesn't matter if they want it. It's not in the Constitution.
Hold
on.
It's
not in the Constitution.
I want to hear John finish his thought. I'll let you finish, Josh. Okay. Yeah, so you're saying you're not debating this. You're saying only if people want this idea, like if there was a democratic consensus that we should be, socialist or whatever you want to call it, then
we're not a democracy.
I don't want to use labels. If 70% of the people want a minimum wage of $20 an hour, it'll either work or it won't. But we can then put that into law, see how it works. And if they don't want it, that's fine. If they don't want any of the social, I mention those things as quality of life things. I don't say that I'm not proposing anything other than let the people decide what's important to them, then let them elect people into Congress that does what's important to them, and we'll see how that works out. If they don't want childcare, they don't want it, that's fine. But let democracy work.
Even if they wanted childcare, where in the Constitution does it say that the federal government's job is to provide childcare for the country? That's not in the Constitution.
Where in the Constitution does it say anything about the internet?
It has the First Amendment.
But it doesn't address the technology or doesn't address the specific social conditions of 2025.
Free speech is free speech, though. Whether it's on paper, whether it's your mouth, whether it's online.
What does the phrase promote? What does the phrase promote the general welfare mean to you? That's in the Constitution.
So, I mean, that is so broad. You can't make that into a democracy thing, though. Like, we're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic, and you're talking about social programs that the federal government would be in charge of, and it's not the federal government's job to tax us to be our moms and dads. It's supposed to be privatized. This is supposed to be a privatized nation for an individualist people.
But wait a minute. If you present it to the people and you say, look, if you want subways in every city in America, you're going to have to pay a little extra taxes. Let the people decide. Is it important to us? Is it not important? No, it's not. We don't want to pay those extra taxes, so we won't have that. Let the people decide. That's what called promoting the general welfare and allowing the democratic process to unfold.
We're not a democracy, and the only reason why you think we are a democracy was because they made a constitutional amendment that made the Senate another basically House of Representatives, so it looked like a democracy when it never was. The Senate used to be a group. 2 people were elected by each state to represent their state in the Senate. They changed that and made it an amendment to the Constitution, so now we look like a pure democracy when we never were. Like, just so let me give you an analogy. If 75% of America wanted to make murder legal one day a year, just because democracy said so, does that mean it should be done?
You know, you have to live with the good decisions and the bad decisions.
Oh, man.
No, I'm sorry. To me, man, if you're truly a self-governing, but good arguments can be made and presented to the people why it's a bad idea. And then a lot of people would say, yeah, I guess that's not a really great idea. I don't want to get shot in the back of my head on July 17th. So people, you know, unfortunately, the people don't have any voice now. And you're saying that it's constitutionally mandated that people not have a voice.
Of course not. What I'm saying is that the Constitution isn't a piece of paper that tells you and me what we can do. The Constitution is a piece of paper that tells us what the government can and can't do to us. It was never to handcuff us. It was always made to handcuff the government.
No, I understand.
Okay, right. So
what is it in the Constitution that says if the majority of people decided that 5 weeks a year should be a mandated vacation for anybody with employment? What in the Constitution says that cannot be legislated and put into law?
Are we going pre or post illegal taxation on your income?
I don't know what legal.
So like, well, okay, so you do understand that, you know, prior to 1912, we didn't have income tax, where they didn't tax it on our labor, right? Okay, so in order to have any kind of massive, huge government where that would even be thinkable, they had to screw up our country and steal all of our money. They had to tax us on our work. They had to tax us on our labor to us to even get to this point. Now we're at this point. There are people like you who want the government to do everything for them now. That's not derogatory. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that was derogatory. And you know what?
No. I promise.
I don't appreciate you putting words in my mouth. I never said that, and I don't even think that.
I'm not being derogatory. I promise you, I wasn't trying to be derogatory. What I'm trying to say is the mindset of the government doing things for you and putting forth programs was never a thing until the government started stealing our money. Corporations used to never have the power they had until they started lobbying the government, because the government started taking their money and our money. So like what I'm trying to get at is that your thought process is flawed, because America was never supposed to have social programs. The government was never supposed to do anything for the American people but leave them alone. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm trying to say, so again, I'm in the Midwest. I'm Midwestern, so like when I talk, I get passionate and loud, like the Chinese do, apparently. Like, I'm not mad at you. I'm not. I don't even think
Americans are loud too, by the way.
Yeah,
oh, good. True. Okay. So I mean, ask me any questions that you want, but I'm just saying, like, the thought process is foreign to me. Your ideas are foreign to me because I still believe in the Constitution as written, and the government's supposed to be out of the businesses, out of your home, and out of your life. So like all the things you were saying was great about other countries. I just said, okay, that's $5, that's $20 more that I can't use to feed my family. That's another $125 I can't have for my family to pay off my mortgage. You know, every single social program, every single thing that the government gives you is just more money out of your pocket at the end of the day.
Yeah, let's continue this subject next time. I want to end on the though. This is a good segue because I'm going to tell you why I could never accept socialized medicine, like the government providing healthcare for everyone. I mean, that sounds heartless, right? I used to, and then COVID happened. Guess what would happen during socialized medicine? They would mandate all of us to get those poison shots, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to take it. But I think this is one area where I love RFK Jr. and I think he's doing a great job. I want to,
both of you do something which is unfortunate because I don't think it becomes either of you, and that is you slide in these terms. The abuses of power by COVID equates to socialism. That's not. That is a complete and false equation. It's just not true. I live under I don't want to call it a socialized medicine system, but it's definitely very, very carefully regulated by the government. And I haven't told you this, Danny, but I had throat cancer 2 years ago, and I was in the hospital for 9.5 weeks.
Oh, man.
9.5 weeks in a hospital bed. I had 33 radiation treatments and 7 chemo. My total bill was about $2,000. So you say, oh, John, you pay all this money and you never get anything. No, I get a lot back. How much would it cost to stay in a hospital in America for 9.5 weeks? You add it up. And now who paid? Everybody in Japan chipped in a little bit so that I could go in the hospital and pay practically nothing, and I'm still alive. That's what I got out of that. I don't look at the taxes. I pay pretty healthy taxes here, believe it or not. I don't even make much money, but I pay a nice chunk of money.
What's your percentage? What's your percentage? Like, what's the percentage?
I'd have to ask my wife because I'm living on a retirement income, so my percentage is practically nothing. But she has a normal wage. That's probably like 25-30%, something like that.
Well, that's not any different from America.
And
is it, Danny?
And this country functions much better. And as all I'm saying is there are ways of doing things here which could be emulated. And during the COVID crisis, Japan bought all into it, but they didn't have this craziness that you had there. Everybody wears masks here because that's what they do anyway. They do before COVID. Right. I would see all these people in masks. They're very obsessed with cleanliness. And it's born out of a sense of, I say, why do you wear a mask? Because she says, well, I don't want to give this to somebody else. I have a little touch of it's born out of a whole different value system. And it's not socialism you can't put a label on methodologies. You can, but what you're doing is you're gutting any possibility of understanding the way things can function by putting a label on it. So I would like to get into the specifics of what Josh was saying. What in the Constitution prevents a bill before Congress, the Senate, and the House passing saying this, because the people put those people in office to do this. If it was having free murder day, whatever it would be, what in the Constitution?
You couldn't do free murder day because it's murder.
I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm saying that if listen, Americans are stupid enough to embrace a lot of stuff right now that's hurting them. So free murder day wouldn't come as a surprise to me.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
And we end on a joke.
Yeah, no, I love that. Well, I mean, I wanted to make a concession. I do think your system in Japan is better than what we have here now, because even though we're more
capitalist, that doesn't make it better. Like, we have to address the problem with the insurance system and big pharma, controlling information. So yeah, I can see that point. I'm so thankful they took care of you, John. That's great.
Yeah, I'm thankful too. And by the way, I meant no harsh feelings towards you. When I get passionate, I get loud, and I apologize. I think you're a great human being.
What's your home address, Josh? I want to send somebody to visit you.
I don't want to put that on the podcast, what my address is, but Danny has it. Danny has it. He'll hook you up.
You know what, though, Josh? Get my email address. I'm going to do you. You have not offended me at all. You know what offends me? People that ignore me. That's what really offends me. I send emails to all these people and they never reply. I'm going to send you a copy of 11-11-11. By the way, do expletives offend you? The F word?
No, it doesn't offend me. I don't say it.
As long as you're funny.
No, but I'm saying guys talk like that. So there's a lot of guy talk in
you
my
listen
book.
to Kill Tony. Come on.
I want to send you a copy of 11.
I don't do that around my kids. I have little kids.
No, I understand that. I don't either. In fact, I actually swear much less now in Japan because people don't swear here. But my point is that my book 11-11-11 took place in Missouri, in the area where you grew up. I would love to hear you. I had one other person contact me and say, have you lived here? How did you know? This is exactly what it's like here. I would love to have your reaction as a native Missourian.
Yeah, I'd love to read it.
But there's a lot of F words in it because
we don't say that many. We said GD and shit and like damn. That's it. We didn't really say that F word too much.
You know what's really fascinating is I'm 79. When I was growing up on television, you could not say hell or damn.
It's in the Bible.
I know, but
those are in the Bible.
You couldn't say them on television. Like, that's a hell of a good idea. You could never say that. And now you have a president of the United States say, we're going to fuck them up good. It's like, oh my God, what in the world happened?
Yeah.
You want to talk about, I'm still shocked sometimes,
That was a great day, by the way. When he said that about Israel and Iran, that was great.
Oh yeah.
That was so funny.
Anyway, this has been a fantastic pleasure, and my clock says it's the witching hour.
Yeah, likewise. Well, thank you so much, John. Yeah, we got to have you back and continue this conversation.
Let's do this again. I'm learning a lot.
Absolutely.
Josh, you're absolutely right. I have not been in America. In fact, I choose to spend as little time there as possible because I really don't feel comfortable. I'm afraid of the police. Right. I'm afraid that somebody's going to pull out a gun and say, "Yeah, I would." It's your choice.
Do you want to come shoot my AR?
Huh?
Do you want to come shoot my AR when you come back?
Yeah, of course.
You'll buy one right after.
Okay.
I promise you.
We're gonna turn John into a gun nut.
All right, guys.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yep. Take care.
If you would like to be a guest on Lancast or contact us for any reason, send an email to lancastamerica1st@gmail.com. That's Lancast with 2 C's, America1st@gmail.com. Thank you.